The night was hot and tense in Banjul, the capital city of the Gambia. President Adama Barrow stood silently by the wide glass window of his presidential palace. His forehead glistened with sweat, not just from the humid air, but from the weight of the moment pressing down on him. Outside, the streets were filled with angry, shouting protesters. The noise was deafening. Chants, drums, and horns created a wall of sound that shook the very walls of the palace. People held up handmade signs. Some read, "Barrow must go." Others said, "5 years of failed promises," or "Enough is enough." Young people, many of them jobless and frustrated, shouted louder than the rest. Tires burned in the middle of the roads, sending thick black smoke into the sky. The orange glow of fire made the capital look like it was on the edge of a full-blown uprising. Barrow's hands trembled slightly as he watched the growing unrest. He felt powerless for the first time since becoming president. He had known the protests were coming. They had been building up for weeks. But tonight, it felt different. It felt like something was about to snap. Suddenly, the door burst open. His wife, Fatou, rushed in. Her face was pale, her eyes red with tears. Her voice cracked as she shouted, "They're throwing stones at the palace gates. The guards say they can't hold them back much longer. Adama, we have to leave. We need to get out of the country, now." Barrow turned to her, heart pounding. He had seen this kind of chaos before. Yahya Jammeh, the president he had replaced, had been forced into exile after refusing to leave office. That crisis had nearly pushed the Gambia into civil war. Jammeh had clung to power too long. Was Barrow now facing the same end? He looked into Fatou's frightened eyes. She wasn't just thinking about politics, she was thinking about their safety, their children, their home. But running away would make him look guilty. It would look like he had something to hide. And the one person who would benefit most from that would be his political rival, Essa Fall. "If we run, Essa wins," Barrow said quietly. Essa Fall was the loudest voice in the opposition. He was young, bold, and relentless. He had a sharp tongue and no fear of calling out the president in public. He had been stirring the protest from the beginning, rallying the youth and demanding justice. Fatou grabbed Barrow's arm tightly. "Who cares about Essa? I care about us. Do you want our children to watch you be dragged out of this palace on live TV? We're not safe here." Before Barrow could respond, a loud crash echoed through the room. A glass bottle, likely a homemade firebomb, had smashed against the window. Flames flickered briefly, then died out. Instantly, the palace's automatic security system kicked in. Heavy steel shutters slammed down over the windows with a loud metallic thud, plunging the room into semi-darkness. Alarms began to blare. A voice came through the intercom. It was Lamin, Barrow's chief of security. "Mr. President, we need to move you to the underground bunker, immediately." Barrow didn't move. His thoughts were spiraling. His leadership had been questioned before, but never like this. And part of him knew, maybe the people had a point. He thought of Ousainou Darboe, his former mentor and one of the country's most respected political figures. A lawyer and opposition leader who had spent years fighting for democracy, Darboe had helped Barrow rise to power. But after becoming president, Barrow had pushed him aside. He had refused to follow Darboe's advice, even jailed Darboe's nephew over bogus charges. They hadn't spoken in years, yet now Darboe might be the only person with enough influence to stop the country from burning. "I need to call Darboe," Barrow told Fatou. "If he forgives me, if he tells the people to calm down, maybe they'll listen." Fatou frowned. "You betrayed him. You turned your back on everything he stood for. Why would he help you now?" "I'll beg," Barrow said. "I'll free his nephew tonight. I'll promise to leave after my term ends. I just need 6 more months to fix this mess." Fatou sighed but nodded. "Do it, before it's too late." In the dark, underground bunker, Barrow sat at a small desk, lit by a single overhead bulb. His hand trembled as he picked up the phone. He dialed slowly. Each ring felt like a heartbeat. Finally, a voice answered. "This is Darboe," said the old man, his tone cold and distant. "What does the president want from me at midnight?" Barrow swallowed hard. "Baba, I need your help. The country's falling apart. They'll kill me if you don't intervene." There was silence, then a low scoff. "You ignored my advice. You jailed my family. You broke every promise you made. Why should I care what happens to you now? Barrow's voice cracked. Because I was wrong. I let power get to my head. I tried to fix things alone and pushed away the people who cared. But I can change. I will change. Just help me get through this storm. If you speak to the people, just once, I'll release every political prisoner tonight. I'll open up the government accounts. I'll agree to reforms. But I need 6 months. Just 6 months. Another long silence. Finally, Darboe spoke. I'll do it for the country, not for you. By sunrise, the two men stood side by side on the palace balcony. The crowd below was still massive. Some had stayed through the night, others had returned early. The streets of Banjul were full of emotion, rage, hope, confusion. At the front of the crowd stood Essa Fall, megaphone in hand, still yelling, "Barrow is lying, don't trust them, he must go." But when Darboe stepped forward and raised his hand, a hush fell over the crowd. "My brothers and sisters," he began, his voice strong, "we all suffered under Yahya Jammeh. We all hoped that Adama Barrow would bring change. But instead, he became arrogant. He made mistakes." The crowd roared in agreement. Barrow looked down, ashamed. "But," Darboe continued, "burning this palace won't solve anything. Violence will only destroy what we fought so hard to build. Barrow has promised to fix what he broke. I am giving him 6 months. If he fails, I will stand with you in these streets again." The crowd murmured. Some shouted no, others nodded. Then Barrow stepped up to the microphone. His voice shook. "I've made terrible mistakes," he said. "But I love this country. I want to make things right. I will release all political prisoners by tomorrow morning. I will make the government's finances public. And we will vote on reforms. If I fail, Darboe himself can lead the movement to remove me." Bottles and rocks were still thrown, but fewer this time. Some protesters started walking away. Some stayed, still angry but listening. The tide had not turned completely, but it had paused. Back inside the palace, Fatou met her husband with a weak but hopeful smile. 6 months, she said softly. "Let's pray it's enough." Barrow nodded. He felt like he had been given a second chance, but he knew it would not be easy. Rebuilding trust was harder than winning an election. That night, after everyone else had gone to bed, Barrow returned to his office. He picked up his phone and called his private pilot. "Keep the plane ready," he whispered, "just in case." The story isn't over. Will Barrow keep his promises and truly change? Will Essa Fall accept peace or push for more protests? And will Ousainou Darboe, the voice of reason, live long enough to hold Barrow accountable if he fails? For now, the Gambia waits in uncertainty, suspended between hope and history, between peace and fire.